Okay, I'm going to make a start because I'm mindful of everyone's time. So let me just move things around so that I can see all of you. Ah, and there's Alona. Hi, Alona. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let you guys know what we're going to be doing today. So really what I've planned is a few really simple, but I think quite important insights that I hope will help you look at fear in a different way and feel more open to embracing changes or goals or ambitions that you're kind of feeling a bit blocked about or struggling to move forward with. There will be moments of interaction. I don't want anyone to feel under pressure about that, but actually this is quite a nice talkative bunch. I know most of you, which is lovely. So please do lean in. Look, it's a safe space. There's no judgment. It's just about kind of talking out some of what we experience. So I will ask for volunteers here and there, and feel free to lean in. I am recording the session. So if you prefer not to be in the recording, then I'd recommend that you switch your video off and don't speak, but it would be really lovely. There'll be nothing to expose. It'd be really lovely if people can kind of lean in and engage when those moments are available. And so I'll talk for about 20 minutes or so, and then for the second half of the hour, I've got a live coaching experience for you. That is where you need your pen and journal or pad. That's where I'm effectively going to be coaching you. But if we were in a kind of one-to-one coaching situation, you'd be responding to me and we'd be talking stuff out. Instead, I'm just going to keep prompting you and you're going to keep writing. So you will effectively go through a mini coaching session, the outcome of which will be a plan. It'll be a plan for you to move a step or two forward towards your goal. Okay. Then there'll be a bit of a wrap up. And so for those of you that can't stick around for the whole hour and a half, which is what I've allocated, you can go after the coaching session if you want, but I will stick around, do a bit of a wrap up and make myself available for any questions or anyone that wants to talk something out in a bit more detail. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Perfect.
Good stuff. What I'd like to do very quickly is just do a quick straw poll on the main reason you're here, because for some of you it's more about fear, for some of you it's more about procrastination, and I think for some people it can be more about indecision. So I'm not sure whether I want to do something, and it will help me tailor the session a little bit if I know which of those things it is. So I'm just going to launch a poll there now, and if you can all select which is the main reason you were interested in this particular workshop. Hopefully you can all see the poll. It's popped up for you. Yeah. Okay, so a bit of a mix so far.
Vicky, it's a bit cross between the two, decision and procrastination, and it won't only let me select one.
Pick the one that you think that your best guess is the biggest kind of challenge.
It's kind of both together.
Okay. Well, okay, so pick one at random.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've done, I've put the stuff on decision making after the coaching session, because I've just got one kind of model for you to use around decision making. And of course, decision making is a part of procrastination or indecision. So I'd encourage you to stick around to after the coaching session and see that model as well. That's the last thing I was going to do. It looks like the biggest issue is with procrastination. I'm going to talk about fear first, then I'm going to talk about procrastination. But what I would say is often I think what we think is procrastination can be fear. Yeah. A low-level fear that's kind of masking or masquerading as procrastination. We keep putting off, but actually it's because there is something, we're blocking ourselves to protect ourselves in some way. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so we'll start with fear, we'll do procrastination, then we'll do the coaching session, and then we'll talk about difficulty in decision making. But it does all kind of link together really as a set of concepts. Does that sound okay with everyone?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll just share those results quickly. I mean, it's a fairly small number of you, so it's not statistically significant, but it looks like procrastination is the biggest issue. So let me get rid of that. Okay, I'm just gonna, look, most of you know me, but I'm just gonna tell you what I'm up to right now and why I'm running these workshops. So I've set up a small business called The Success Smith. I'm basically in the business of leadership and lifestyle coaching now, again, because I did it a little bit 5-6 years ago. I'm interested in helping people that need to create breakthroughs and cope with those breakthroughs. I do that at an individual level and at a business level. My kind of primary toolkit, if you like, is coaching, but I use neurolinguistic programming. I work a lot on embodied energy. So being in alignment with ourselves. One of the biggest reasons for procrastination is that we're not fully aligned in what we think we want to do. So we might have an ambition over here, but we might have a deep-seated need somewhere else in us, and it's blocking us. So I work a lot on flushing out what those things are and bringing them into alignment, either by shifting the goal or by shifting whatever it is that's kind of stuck inside of us that's stopping us move towards that goal. And that's a lot to do with energy and clarity. Obviously, I'm a qualified psychologist. I say obviously, it may not be obvious to all of you. I am now a qualified psychologist. And so I use a lot of behavioral psychology and neuroscience principles to help people along that journey of change. So bear that in mind. That's me these days. If I can support anyone or anyone in their business context, then by all means, give me a shout afterwards and let me know. So with that spirit of energy and management of our energy in mind, I'm just going to ask you all to do a small exercise with me to get ourselves into a creative and receptive mindset. Now, you know, this is a workshop. You guys don't know fully what to expect or what I might ask you to do. So probably there's a little bit of nervousness or anxiety bubbles around. So what I'm going to ask us to do, and by the way, it'll help me as well, because of course it's a bit daunting running these things. I'm just going to ask everyone to take 3 intentional breaths. So just 3 nice deep breaths that you focus on. And as you do that, I'd like you to notice where your shoulders are. Because often we find that our shoulders just creep up over the course of the day, or when we're in something new, or when we're facing into a goal or challenge that we are procrastinating over or find daunting. So deep breath, notice where your shoulders are. And if you can have your feet on the ground and your legs uncrossed and your palms facing upward, so that you're in a really open and receptive state. And just notice whether you can feel anything in the palms of your hands, whether it's the cold air against your skin, or the sensation of blood moving in your body, in your hands. Just brings us back to the body. And if you can aim to keep open, relaxed, and an open posture over the course of this workshop, you will learn more from it. Okay, when we adopt an open posture, science tells us that we're better able to learn, to take things in, and to retain them. When our amygdala is firing, when we're in a kind of protective stance, we're telling our body there's something to be nervous of here. And so the wrong part of our brain is in charge. The part that's really kind of smart and able to learn and cognitively capable shuts down a little bit. And the bit that's all about emotions fires up a little bit. So if we can adopt this calm, open posture, we tell our brain, you're safe, you're ready to learn, you're ready to kind of be engaged cognitively. So that's why it can be helpful to just be in that open posture. Is everyone okay with that? Everyone feeling okay? Let me just scroll along. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. So let's start. I'm going to ask all of you to get your pens and pads at the ready, and I'd like you to think about what area of your life you would most like to change. So you may have various areas of your life that you'd like to change. Think about the one that is most pressing or prominent for you right now. And that's what you're going to work on when we come to the coaching session later on. So it might be an area of concern for you currently. You know, it could be time management or your fitness or healthy eating. your relationship with your partner. Make it something real. Make sure it's something that it matters to you to make some progress on. And make sure it's something within your control. So just to give you an example, in the relationship space, you might think, right, I want a better relationship with my partner because I want them to do the washing up more often. Okay, that's not a great coaching goal. It is probably within your influence a little bit, but a better framing of that is, I would like to feel more satisfied with, you know, the balance of work within the house. I would like to feel more satisfied with it. That's something you can work on. You can't sort of work through yourself into coaching on other people. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so just write down in one simple sentence what the topic is that you would like to focus on in today's session. So it might sound like, my topic is time management and I want to create more time for myself. Or it might be, my topic is well-being and I want to have a healthier diet. So whatever it is, just write down what you would like to work on in today's session. Okay. Everyone got something written down?
Yeah.
Thumbs up if everyone's ready. Those of you not on video, perhaps you can put your little thumbs up. Yes, lovely, lovely. They're working. It's always exciting when something works in Zoom. Thanks, guys. Okay, so let me share something with you that I think will resonate. Do you find yourself saying, I'll do that thing when I feel a bit less tired, when I have a bit more time, when I lose a bit of weight, when I stop feeling so anxious? Do you find yourself putting these things off with a, you know, when I feel less scared, or I feel more in control, or when I get through this busy point at work, then I'll sign up for the course, then I'll take up the exercise regime, then I'll paint the kitchen, or whatever it might be. So it's kind of the when then game. It's also sometimes called someday I'll. We have this dream of someday I'll. Someday, when I've got less things on my to-do list, I will take up piano lessons. Someday I'll learn to ski. Maybe when the kids are older. I couldn't possibly do it now. Yeah, does that resonate? This kind of fictional land in the future. When this has happened, then I'll do that thing. And often it's fear or excuse making that stops us getting to that place. And someday I'll is something everyone has. Lots of us are guilty of this. Here's the thing. We don't take the leap to that change once I feel less scared, once I've got more energy, once I feel less anxious. We feel less scared once we take the leap. We get more energy once we start doing the exercise. As you begin to do these things, you begin to create the capacity to do these things. Your comfort zone gets bigger. It won't just happen on its own. I think a lot of us are guilty of saying, I just don't feel quite motivated enough. When I feel a bit more motivation, then I'll get out and do the thing. But we're kind of giving away all our power then. We're saying, well, it's this thing outside of me. I have to wait for it to happen to me. In fact, Mary Claire, you've seen me do this when I'm saying, I don't want to do my run. It's going to be horrible. I don't want to do it. And you said, stop thinking about it. Get out of the house. Do it. And I do. And of course, it's fine. And I create in myself the capacity to just get out and do it. If I overthink about it, I'm not really feeling motivated today. My ego starts giving me lots of reasons why there's probably something different I could do. It gives me excuses. Okay, so there's a thinking approach here that we can start to turn towards. Now, for a lot of us, the sense of fear that might come with doing something new or doing something that feels outside of our comfort zone is about thinking that we just can't handle it. So in the end, almost any fear that we have boils down to one thing, which is I'm not going to be able to handle this. Does that Does that kind of make sense? You know, if you think, right, I could quit my job, but I might not be able to handle it. I might not be able to get another job. I might become poor. I might, you know, my mortgage might go into arrears. These are all things that could happen. They're things that you might choose to avoid. But if they were to happen, you would handle it. You know, there's very little in this life that will kill us. You know, if we take the leap, if we take the risk, we can usually make the thing work. We find resourcefulness that we didn't know we had because we didn't put ourselves out of the comfort zone and try the new thing. It's actually really good news if you think about it, because if you can get over your fear, and your fear is totally within your control, there's almost nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't handle. So whether your fear is being rejected or failing or hurting yourself or hurting someone else or looking silly or being made fun of or making a mistake or getting ill or losing your job or being alone, you can handle it. You're not going to die from these things. And once you realize you can handle just about anything, you can start taking risks. You know, fear is completely natural. It's there to keep us safe. But in modern life, to be honest, there's very little to be fearful of. Look, right now we're in a slightly more fearful time than usual because of COVID, right? But fundamentally, we are no longer in a situation where we're having to hunt down our food and we might get eaten by a bear. Our body, our biological evolutionary success traits have kind of wired us to have little spikes of fear when there's a lion in front of us, and they send everything to our vital organs, all of the blood, all of the energy to our vital organs, you know, and we can run, they send everything to our muscles, we can run, we get additional strength. But in modern life, we don't need any of that. So our fear kind of turns in on itself and just creates this constant low-level sense of anxiety that many of us feel. There is very little real for us to be scared of in modern life. So we kind of imagine things up to be scared of. But if you get really rational, if you can kind of put aside, step out of that emotion for a moment and look at things rationally, you can handle anything, just about. You can handle just about anything. So thinking, I have to wait until I feel ready. I have to wait until I feel brave enough. I have to wait until all these magical pillars lined up so that I can do this thing. It's wrong way round thinking. Do the thing and then make it work. Do the thing and you will feel more resilient. Do the thing and you will increase your capacity for doing things that feel difficult. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story. If any of you saw my LinkedIn post on this, here is the lobster story that I promised. A lobster has a hard shell, we know this. A lobster grows to a certain size, and because its shell is hard, to keep growing, it starts to feel uncomfortable. It becomes pained in this kind of confined shell that's holding it in. So it has to kind of poodle off somewhere and take off the shell. It has to shrug off the shell. And for a while, it is naked and vulnerable. But it can grow. The lobster can grow because it took off that shell, and it grows a new shell, and the new shell is bigger. And after a while, as it continues growing, it feels uncomfortable again, and it has to take off that shell and grow again. And so the cycle continues. Now, it's a beautiful analogy for personal development and growth and change, because we're like the lobster, right? When we are facing into something that we find daunting or that represents big change or growth, we start to feel uncomfortable. And often that discomfort makes us turn away, makes us not want to be in that discomfort. So we retreat, we get smaller, we try and hold in our growth so that we don't have to feel that discomfort. And for many of us, the thought of being vulnerable and exposed is the worst thing we can imagine. So we don't take off the shell. we stay ossified and stuck, and we don't reach our potential. We don't grow and inhabit that new space. So it's a lovely analogy. Let me make it a little bit more visual and perhaps scientific for you. So there is a concept called the zone of optimal performance. The principle of the comfort zone. This is the lobster not growing. This is, you know, our ego keeping us safe, because to move into our stretch zone feels uncomfortable. The thing is, we never stand still. So if we stay in that comfort zone, over time, that comfort zone, it gets smaller, it retreats, we retreat. I don't know if you have a kind of older relative who, as they've got older, has kind of stopped doing things that they used to do. And after a while, the thought of going back to doing those things is too scary for them. So they do less and less. My father is a good example of this. He's become scared of driving at night. My dad always loved driving. He was a taxi driver, a bus driver, a truck driver. He was a driver. And after a while, he stopped driving. When it got dark, he just had some little wobble about it, felt a bit nervous about it, and stopped doing it. And now he won't drive at night. So his horizons have become limited. This can happen to us if we don't make a conscious intention to stretch ourselves, to move into stretch zone, even though it's uncomfortable. And we only know we're in stretch zone because it's uncomfortable. And it's in stretch zone that the good stuff happens. It's at the edges where the good stuff happens. This is where we're learning, we're taking on new skills, we're expanding our horizons and growing our capability and making changes that help us realize more of our potential. Now, on the other side of stretch zone is panic zone. We don't want to go there too often, okay? What can happen is that if we spend our whole time protecting our status quo, keeping comfortable, our stretch zone can become a tiny little sliver on the outside of it, and everything feels like panic, okay? If you think you might be in that place, you need to work to nudge into that stretch zone with whatever small change or challenge or daunting thing you might be able to find that you can manage, and push into it and feel the discomfort and stay there a little while, and then come back to comfort, and then go again and push a little bit further. If you become practiced at this, you can grow your stretch zone and it becomes your new comfort zone. So being in stretch becomes comfortable to you, and then your panic zone reduces and becomes something even smaller. And you know, you can become someone who doesn't really experience panic. You just experience the kind of dangerous thrill of living in exciting ways, doing new things and challenging yourself. Fear will never go away, because if we're not experiencing fear or discomfort, we're not growing. So the only way to kind of get rid of fear entirely is to be in comfort zone, and then you're getting smaller and smaller and limiting your horizons and yourself. Everybody feels fear when confronted with doing something new or scary. We all experience it, but many people go out and do the thing anyway. That's evidence that fear is not the issue. It's the person experiencing that fear and letting it contain them and hold them back and hold them in that's the issue. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me share an example. I'm going to ask for a volunteer here. This isn't exposing in any way. It's really just, I'm looking for someone to do a bit of a description. For people that are scared of public speaking, can I have a volunteer who is, if confronted with this room full of people and you had to walk on and give a 15-minute speech, would find it terrifying? Tanya, thank you for volunteering yourself. Would you mind putting your video on? Are you up for that?
Don't know about that.
So people can see you. That's lovely, just so we can see you. Thank you.
Oh.
So Tanya, can I ask you, as someone who, tell me a little bit, you don't like public speaking?
Oh, I hate it. I faint.
You faint? Okay.
I don't like being on big conference calls where I have to lead. I sit in the background quiet.
Okay. aside from the fainting moments,
Yeah.
you describe for me what the physical sensations feel like.
Horrible, feeling sick, nervous, my legs wobble and give way, and then I go to the stage where there's been twice where I fainted.
Okay, fainting's obviously pretty extreme, so I'm going to kind of park that at an end that this isn't necessarily relevant for, but I want to tackle the symptoms that you described that are perhaps more there for many people who are fearful of public speaking. So you feel sick, you feel nervous, and your legs go to jelly. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. What would you name that feeling?
No idea.
Is it anxiety? Is it terror? Is it panic?
I think it's a bit of everything, to be fair.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya. That's really helpful. I'm going to ask for another volunteer now. Someone who loves roller coasters. Can I have a volunteer of someone who loves going on a roller coaster? Does anyone?
I do.
Kamal, brilliant. Kamal, can you tell me what the physical sensations are that you experience when you're about to get on a roller coaster?
First it'll be excitement, but then midway it'll be, oh my God, I've taken the worst decision. I shouldn't have done this. And then
what do you experience physically in your body?
Lots of like butterflies in the stomach and panic at times. The excitement, but the anxiety of not knowing what's coming. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then at the end, just the thrill of having done that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So butterflies in the stomach, anxiety, panic, nervousness. But this is a thing that you love, right? This is something that you go into it feeling a sense of excitement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Here's the point that I'm drawing out. The physical sensations of fear are super similar. They're basically the same as the physical sensations of excitement. So if I was about to do a bungee jump and I felt scared but excited, good scared, I would feel sick. My legs would feel like jelly. I'd have butterflies in the stomach, as you said, Kamal. And I would name that excitement. I'd also name it fear. A roller coaster I'd be less scared of, but I would still have those same physical sensations. I might get flushed. My breath might get short as I started on that roller coaster ride, which is exactly the same way I feel if I have to stand in front of a room of 200 people and break into song, which some of you know I do periodically. So we can choose fear or excitement. We can train the brain to interpret things differently. Look, somewhere along the line, somewhere in our deep wiring, when we experience certain physical sensations, they got a name, and that name was fear for some of us, or that fear got attached to a particular thing. But for others of us, that name became excitement, and we experienced it differently. So what can be terrifying for one person can be exciting, if a bit nerve-wracking, for another. I don't mind public speaking. I quite enjoy it. I definitely get a kick. I get the butterflies. I get the shortness of breath. I have to ground into my body, and then I go and do it anyway. So you get to choose. And that little embodiment exercise we did at the beginning, where we kind of centered ourselves and took some intentional breaths, you can use that in any situation to notice what your body is doing. But you don't have to judge what your body is doing, and you don't have to name it. You don't have to say, well, my body is feeling these things. I feel sweaty, therefore I must be scared, therefore I'm feeling anxious. You can just notice, okay, my body is doing this. Okay. And move on to the thing that you want to do, or that you've set yourself a challenge to do. So we get to choose. And those words that we use to label, and we do it instinctively, and it's a good habit to learn to notice those words as we're using them. They're incredibly powerful. So yeah, we can say this thing is terrifying, or we can say it's exciting. A lot of us default to I can't do this. And I'm going to give you a really personal example here. My kids often come and kind of tug on my cardigan and say, Mum, will you come and play double? Mum, will you come and do colouring in? And often, particularly when I'm not feeling intentional or present, I say, no, I can't right now, I'm working. But the truth is, it's not that I can't, it's that I'm choosing not to. It's that I'm choosing to prioritise something different. And there might be really good reason for that. You know, it might be important that I'm choosing to prioritise work right now. But at least if I use accurate language, I am having to be honest with myself and them that I am prioritising work over them right now. That's harsh, right? We do it. If it's with good reason, we get to explain that and they get a learning experience. Look, I will hold my hand up. I sometimes do it because it's convenient or because colouring in is boring for me or I don't feel like it right now. So I say, no, I can't, I couldn't possibly, you know, I'm busy. Mummy's terribly busy right now, but it's not the truth. The truth is I don't want to. So being accurate with our language takes us from dishonesty to honesty, but it also takes us from helplessness to empowerment. Because if rather than saying I can't, I have to be honest, I don't want to, I'm choosing not to, then it invites me to get clear on my reasons. And that's hugely empowering and gives me the clarity to make change if I want to. It takes some practice, right? None of us are perfect. I haven't mastered these things, by the way, even though I kind of deliver training on them. So it's really helpful to be accurate and powerful in our language. Taking charge means not blaming other people for anything that you are being or doing or having or feeling. You know, even when I was employed rather than self-employed, and I might say I can't because I'm working and I have to do that. Well, I don't have to. I can choose to prioritize my kids and have a conversation with my boss about how I'm managing my work-life balance. I can choose to leave, as I did in the end, because I want my time to be my own. It's all a choice. We may say I can't or I couldn't possibly, but it's all a choice. Taking charge means working out where you want to be in life, how you want to spend your time, what you want to do, and then acting on it. And that's about being in alignment. So if I spend my whole time saying I want to be a professional singer, but I never do my vocal training, if I spend my whole time saying I want to have more quality time with my kids and my phone is in my hand and every other moment I'm checking Facebook, my actions, my behaviors are not in line with what I'm saying I want. And if I can begin to notice that and tune into it, it will give me really powerful information. It might make me realize that actually feeling connected or getting a dopamine hit or knowing that I'm important to my friends and they're talking to me, maybe that's more important to me right now than spending time with my kids. Maybe it tells me that I've got a bit of a problem here and I need to take charge of it because I keep, you know, being absent in my phone rather than being connected with my family. Whatever it might be, it's very empowering to know that it's a choice. At some level, it's a choice. Now, some of you, I'm sure, will be feeling it's too difficult. It is too difficult. I find myself doing this. Okay, so there is another concept that I'll share with you, which is when we self-sabotage ourselves through secondary gain. So this is when, even though we really do believe that we want the thing, I really believe I want to spend quality time with my kids, but I just keep finding myself looking at my phone. It means that I'm getting some kind of benefit. My ego is getting something that it needs from the thing that I keep doing. And ultimately, that's more important to me than the thing I believe I want. And in order to address that, well, there are a couple of things that you can do once you've identified what that need, that emotional need or that ego driver is. I can find a way to align the thing I think I want to give me more of whatever that need is. And I'll give you an example in a minute to make this a bit clearer to help you with it. So I can so I can bring better alignment between what I think I want and what maybe my ego needs. And I'm much more likely to stop procrastinating and achieve my goals if I have that alignment. Or I can overcome this ego need by doing, and sometimes it's deep work, right? Sometimes I need to dig in and understand that wiring and look at it squarely and address it, because there's something that I'm blocking myself with and I need to do some deep work on that. So I'm going to give you an example to try and make sense of that. It's kind of a complex concept. So right, me, Victoria Stakelin, I have for a long time wanted to run regularly, and I was not doing it. I go through little moments of a little burst of running and then I would stop and spend 3 weeks not getting out of bed on a Saturday morning. I would find that often the thing I would do instead of running, and that's your clue, by the way, if you're procrastinating or not getting to something or not forming a new habit, the clue is in what you are doing instead. What are you defaulting to? The thing I was defaulting to was getting on the laptop, getting on the phone, being busy, busy time, finding ways to busy myself. I did some work on this. What I've identified is I have a fairly hardwired need for the kind of blue screen dopamine hits that you get from that, the ping, the notifications. Look, modern life is designed to put us at the mercy of those things, you know. There's deep behavioral neuroscience built into how our phones and laptops are designed to make them addictive to us. Ultimately, it means we're spending money, right? So it's a fairly tough tide to fight, but I'm really kind of in the grip of this. So one thing I could do would be to overcome it. That's difficult for all the reasons I just said. Another thing was to find a way to bring the habit I wanted to form into alignment with that. So that's what I did, right? Running feels grueling and boring to me. I'd rather be faffing about on my phone. So what I did was get a running program on my sports watch and have a program on my phone that gives me badges and rewards and notifications, that lets me track my program, lets me track the courses I'm going to run, basically meets that need, but keeps me focused on the new habit that I want to form. So all of a sudden, I found a way to bring this kind of ego need over here into alignment with a habit I wanted to form so that I could make better progress. And now I go out running 4 times a week, fairly fail safe, actually. It's pretty good. And that's been the case now for what, 6, 7, 8 months. So when your behaviors are not aligned with your desires, right, it could be fear. There's work you can do there. It could be because what you're getting from not changing gives you something that you need more than the thing you want or you think you want, right? I want to get thin, but I keep finding myself on the sofa eating crisps. I hate my job, but I want financial security. All right, there are kind of deep-seated needs that we have to address to make progress. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, good. I have taken more time than I intended to go through those sections. I was going to invite someone to kind of work through a secondary gain process here, but I'm not going to do that now because we're short on time. I'm going to move into the coaching session. Okay, so let's see if we can coach you all to some kind of a breakthrough on a goal that you have. So have you all got your pens and papers ready to do a bit of work on this? Okay, now this is about a half-hour session. I'll try and keep it reasonably pacey. If you have to drop off early, obviously it will be in the recording. You can pick up where you left off and keep going. I'd recommend finishing the process. So you've got your topic, you wrote it down at the top of the session, yeah? An area of your life you want to make some progress in. I'd like you to just take a moment and picture yourself at a point in the future when everything in your life, in this area of your life, is exactly how you want it to be. It's sorted. It's exactly a 10 out of 10 for your satisfaction with your performance in this area of your life. Can everyone kind of picture that some point in the future? You're a 10 out of 10 on satisfaction for this area of your life. Can you just jot down for me, think through what's happening that shows you that this area is resolved now? What's happening now in your life?
What's stopping you from doing it?
No, what's happening that shows you that it's now resolved. So I want you to imagine you're at a point in the future and it's you're totally there. This is sorted. It's no longer an issue for you. What's happening that tells you that this is no longer an issue for you, that it's resolved? And what are you doing that shows you that you have now achieved what you wanted to achieve?
How's that different?
It's similar, but one is what's happening that's different. The other is what you are doing.
Okay.
That shows you that you're there. And if anyone else has any questions as we trundle along, then please speak up. And what are the people around you saying to you? What are you hearing? What are you thinking and feeling now that you are 100% satisfied with this area of your life? Now, really importantly, I also want you to jot down what would have happened if you had not done anything at all. So from this place in the future where everything's brilliant, I want you to reflect back. What would have happened if you hadn't done this, made these changes? Where would you have ended up instead? Those of you not on video, are you keeping up okay? Because it's hard for me to gauge whether you're okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Alona. Okay. What I'd like you to now do, again, from that place in the future where everything is sorted, I want you to reflect back and list out the different things that you had to resolve to get yourself to this place of satisfaction. So you're 100% satisfied now with this area of your life. I want you to list out the different things you had to do to get there. Okay. How are we doing with that? Which one aspect has been the most important for you to address of those things you had to do to get to 100% sorted on this? Which one is the most important?
You want me to tell you?
You can if you want, but you don't have to.
Or do you just want me to ring it, you know, to...
Oh yeah, that's it. Do a star next to it, do a circle next to it. The one thing that you think is most important. And just reflect on what made you choose that one. Again, this isn't for you to tell me. I've just put myself on speaker view, so it's a bit nicer for you guys than watching a blank screen of flowers.
Vicky, when you say the one that's the most important, it's important what to achieve to my end goal.
Yeah.
to like stop in order for it to happen?
So of all of the different things you needed to do to be at this place of I'm totally sorted now, which of those areas was it most important for you to address first? And it might be stopping something, it might be starting something, you know, it might be doing something.
Stop being a full-time mum and a full-time employee.
Okay, if that's the area.
Single mum though is not possible.
Well, suspend judgment for now. Suspend judgment for now, okay? The different elements that you have needed to resolve in order to get to this place of 100% satisfaction, okay? And what made you choose the most important one to get started on? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is where you've just been imagining you are 100% sorted, everything about this is exactly where you'd like it to be, and 1 is, I've only just started thinking about this. Can you note where you are right now? On this particular area that's the most important for you to start working on, where are you now? And how would you know that you had got 1 step closer to that ultimate goal? So you might have gone from a 3 to a 4, or you might have gone from an 8 to a 9, or from a 6 to a 7. How would you know? What's happening that tells you you've inched just 1 step closer to where you want to be? When could you take that 1 step by? So it needs to take you toward your 10 out of 10, you're 100% there, but it's small, it's manageable, it's a step you could take within, say, 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe shorter, maybe sooner, but no longer. And I'd like you to write that down as an outcome as if you've already achieved it. So it will be I am, or I have, or I do. I am going running 4 times a week for 20 minutes. I am meditating for 10 minutes every day. I weigh whatever. Make sense? So just that one thing that felt most important to tackle first, one thing you can do just to get from a 2 to a 3 or from a 5 to a 6, 1 step. Frame it in the present tense for yourself. I am doing, I have. Crucially, and Tanya, this relates a little bit to the point that you just raised, make sure it's written in the positive. So if you have found yourself writing, I don't want to, or I am not, or I have stopped, figure out what the opposite is. Figure out what the positive end of that is. You know, I've stopped biting my nails. Frame it as something positive. I now have beautiful long nails. Does that make sense? And be specific. How will you know? How will you measure this success? How will you know that you've got there? Make it something you can tangibly see and recognize. And if you're thinking this is too difficult, too big, impossible, how can you break it into something smaller, more manageable, more achievable? So maybe you can't stop being a full-time worker and a full-time mum, but what can you do that just gives you a bit more than you have now? A bit more of what you want, a bit more time to yourself maybe, or a bit more freedom, whatever it may be. And if you look at that goal and it feels dead easy, you could do it tomorrow, not bothered, a bit bored by it, it's not big enough. Make it beefier. Because if we're not in stretch, we're not growing and developing. you won't keep with it. It won't give you that little sense of edge that keeps you committed. So think about what you want to achieve by the end of this coaching session. We're just going to have sort of 15 more minutes on this, that you want to go away with. So it might be a step, it might be a strategy, it might be a plan, or 2 actions that you can take away and do. Think about the outcome that you want to achieve within the next 15, 20 minutes so that you can be clear if at the end of the conversation you've managed to kind of crystallize that. Okay? So you should be clear on the area of your life that you want to work on. You should have a sense of what achieved looks like. I'm 100% satisfied with this area of my life now. You've got a clear kind of area within that, a goal that you want to progress on, like one aspect of that, and you know what good looks like there. And you've got a clear sense of a goal you can work on in the next 15 minutes to kind of get some ideas and some plans around that. Is everyone just about there with that? Can I have some thumbs up when you're there with that? Good stuff, good stuff. Baby in background, thanks Lona. Digital thumbs is fine, by the way, if you know where they are. Okay, so I'm going to move on. What I'd like you to think about now is what is happening right now that tells you this is a problem area for you. What's going on that's bothering you? And what makes this an issue right now, specifically? What is it about this that makes it a problem right now for you? And I'd like you to get really specific about what is missing. What is it that you are missing from this area right now? And be precise in that, be specific. Mike, I can see that you've just joined us. We're most of the way through the session. You're very welcome to stay. We're just on the kind of latter part of a group coaching session. But you can catch yourself up on the replay, which I'll also circulate to everyone. And what is good in where you're at with this at the moment that you would want to keep? Because actually it's the stuff that does move you towards. So there's got some stuff that's not so good for you. There's some stuff that you want to keep as it is. Jot those things down. What are you doing right? And what are the good habits that you bring to this right now? And can you also have a think about those things that you've already tried to make stuff better? For those things that you've tried, some presumably were successful, others not so much. So for those things that were successful, what exactly did you do that worked for you? And in what ways did they work for you? What were you thinking at that time? What kept you going? What do you think made it work? And what about those things that have been less successful that you've tried? What point did they stop working? What went wrong? For those ideas that didn't work, what do you think contributed to that setback? What triggered it? What was going on around you? What were the circumstances? So on reflection, what might have made the biggest difference and enabled you to be successful? What have these thoughts about your previous efforts and attempts to make change taught you that you can use? What have you learned about yourself? And what strikes you as being absolutely crucial to your success this time, if you're going to succeed this time? So those that don't have video on, it will be helpful for me to be able to see when you, because I can't tell when you stop writing and you're ready for me to move on. So if you're able to put video on, it does really help, but I appreciate you not really feeling it, some of you, but okay. I just want you to think about obstacles you might encounter. So what obstacles are there now which you think might get in your way or make it difficult for you to move forward? What is the major obstacle? There's usually one. In what way is it an obstacle? I want you to really look at it. What exactly is it about this obstacle that gets in the way? So don't be in generalizations. Is it time that's your problem? How much time is it? Is it your boss? Is it your partner? What is it about that person that gets in the way? Don't let yourself off the hook here with big, broad statements. Get really specific. Now, I want you to think about how you've tried to negotiate similar barriers in the past. In what ways were you successful? What did you learn? What's transferable to this? What still needs to be tackled? Hi, angels. We're just on the tail end of a group coaching session. You're welcome to just sit in and listen. You may want to go back in the recording. So what still needs to be tackled to overcome this barrier? And what skills and strengths and resources have you got that you could use here? So think broad now. Think about your skills from work, from home, from your hobbies and leisure activities that might be relevant and useful to you here. Think about the stuff you're really good at in different areas of your life. How can you apply it? And what support do you have around you that will be important? Who can you turn to? Who are your cheerleaders going to be? Who can you confide in? Who can you draw strength from? Oh, it's for you.
It's the peril of working from home, isn't it?
I know. Okay, so you've got a specific issue and a specific goal for this session. You've just delved into what's going on and what's not going on for you right now. You've highlighted what you've done about it so far, the successes you've had, the things that haven't worked so well. You've thought about experiences you can bring from other areas of your life, possible obstacles that might trip you up. We're going to think about moving forward now. So think about your options. This is not necessarily what you will do. These are the things you could do. So we're not trying to get to like the one or two things we're going to move forward with out of this plan. We're trying to get lots of ideas from the kind of sublime to the ridiculous on possible ways forward. So this is sort of individual brainstorming. What ideas have you got that could move you closer to this goal? Just that one step. Just let it flow. Don't edit them. Free write what pops into your mind. And I'll give you a few prompts. So what could you do if you did not have to answer to anyone except yourself? What could you do if you had all the time and money you needed to make this happen? What could you do? What could you do if for the next 3 months you didn't have to do anything else but just devote yourself to resolving this one issue? Write down everything that comes to mind. Don't censor yourself. Don't edit as you go. We'll get to that bit. What would you do if there were no consequences? No consequences. No judgment. If you could just follow your heart. No consequences. What would you do? What would you do if you weren't scared? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? What would you do? What would you do right now if you absolutely believed in yourself, knew you could make it happen, knew you could make it work? What would you do? What would your best friend tell you to do? Or what is your best friend telling you to do, perhaps? What about your boss? What would your boss suggest that you do? Think back to those things you have already tried in real life and what you learnt from those actions, where the good ideas went wrong, where things didn't go to plan. What ideas does that generate for you? Now look at your list. What else is there? What's missing? What other ideas are linked to the ideas you've already written down? If you go one step further out, more extreme, more magical. Think about what you wanted to get out of this, the 15, 20 minutes we've spent on this. Think about what you wanted from the session. What do you need to do now to make sure you achieve what you wanted? Write it down. What else? Think of just 3 more things that you could do. If you could step into the body of someone who's better at this stuff, what would you do? Or someone who's already done it? Let me know when you're just about there. Thanks, Lona. Okay. So look at this list that you've written of all these things you could do. Which of them looks right? Do a star, do a circle, whatever works for you. Which feels best? Which of them would have the biggest impact in terms of moving you closer to where you want to be? Which is the quickest and easiest? Which is the most challenging, most exciting? So which out of that list are you going to commit to taking action on? And if you take action on it, will it move you forward towards your goal? And how will it? If the answer is yes, stay with it. It will feel uncomfortable, probably. Which of those actions or options can you commit to taking action on? And it will feel uncomfortable. Because if it wasn't uncomfortable, you probably would have done it already. Okay, is everyone just about there? Has everyone found at least one thing that they can commit to taking an action around? Maybe. A couple of maybes, not sure maybes. That's okay. What we need to do is get these really specific so that you can have success with them. So for those couple of things, maybe it's just one, maybe it's a handful of things that you feel you can move forward for and want to commit to, what exactly would you need to do to put that into practice? What specific action steps will you take? You know, bullets 1, 2, 3. Split it down into really small, manageable stuff. Maybe you have to book a conversation as a first step. Maybe you need to write a plan. Maybe you need to do some research. I don't know what your things are. But how can you make it really small so that you can minimize that discomfort, particularly if you have been protecting yourself from the discomfort that change requires? Write down all the little things that need to happen, the tiny baby steps. And ask yourself, what might stop me from completing these steps? What barriers am I going to encounter? Good chance they're in us. Mindset work. You can book a call with me after if any of you want to do some work on that. They often live up there. But there might be other things, you know, work might get in the way, time, the washing up. Identify the barriers that are likely to trip you up. How are you going to negotiate those barriers? How are you going to make sure it doesn't stop you this time? Can you write down some specific things you can do to make sure that doesn't get in your way? And what else do you need to think about that might get in the way? And how are you going to get around that? If you've written stuff down, but you've got this voice in your head going, well, I'm writing it down, but I'm already thinking I can't do that. Break it down smaller. Make it smaller. Get to the point where you can commit to yourself, yep, I can do that. If I do nothing else, I can do that. And I will do that. Think about who else needs to get involved in this and how you're going to involve them. You know, do you need to let someone know? Do you need to have an important conversation? Do you need to write an email? Do you need to send a text?
I'm going to disappear, Victoria.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Because I've got another call. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
All right.
Speak to you before tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll send the replay. You can get the tail end on that.
Thank you.
Take care. Now, regarding those actions you've written down, when do you want to have them done by? Be specific. What day, what time? And how make sure those timings are realistic. Give yourself a break, you know, make sure you actually give yourself a chance for success here. When are you going to take those steps? Make sure you've got that against each one. And if it's only one, great. Make sure you've got a day and a time against that one. How strong is your intention and your resolve right now to take those steps? Rate your commitment out of 10. So if 0 is I'm not bothering, and 10 is I am absolutely committed to doing this, taking these steps. How strong is your resolve right now? Think about the benefits of taking these actions. And who else is going to benefit by you making these changes, taking these steps? If you take this step, what will you be saying to yourself? How will you be feeling when you've got it done? What will you have learned? How's everyone feeling? You're on mute, Marie-Claire. Tanya?
Drained and emotional.
Wow, okay.
Uncomfortable, I'm going to say.
Say again, Marie-Claire.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, okay. Yeah. It's an uncomfortable process to challenge ourselves. Remember, comfort, stretch, panic. You're probably in stretch. You might be at the outer edges of stretch, particularly if you're feeling very emotional, Tanya. You know, this stuff goes deep. It goes deep, but it's where change happens. So if you're dissatisfied with where you're at currently, expect to experience discomfort if you're going to push through and get out the other side and make change. Getting comfortable with that discomfort it's all part of it. It's all part of it. So that's the coaching bit done. Thanks, Komal. Lovely to see you. I'm just going to do a final bit on decision making and a wrap up now. So I appreciate some of you need to dash.
I have to go, Victoria. Thanks a million.
Take care, Mrs. Okay, let me just come back to the slideshow. So a quick 5 minutes on decision making, because Tanya, I know this was something that you were interested in, and then I'll wrap up and close the session. Okay, so we will finish exactly on time. Is everyone okay with that? Those of you that are left? No one on video? Yes. The thumbs up is great because I know you're still alive and listening to me. Thank you. Right, so decision making. I'm going to share with you something called the no-lose model. So most of us, when we are faced with a difficult decision, particularly a decision that faces into transformation, like life change stuff, we spend a lot of time agonizing over all of the things that could go wrong. All we can see is whichever route we go, all of the problems that might follow. What if I get the wrong choice? We just put the decision off. Like, what if I get it wrong? This might happen, that might happen. If I leave my job, I might be poverty stricken. This might happen, that might happen. I might not get another job. I might not be able to handle it. We talked about that one earlier. The what ifs are out in force. Eventually, we might make a decision. And no sooner have we made the decision than we spend our whole time worrying that we've made the wrong decision. Oh God, maybe I shouldn't have done this. What have I given up? What have I given away? And we end up in this kind of spiral of worry. So before we make the decision, we're worrying. After we make the decision, we're worrying, because there's always this fear, what if I got it wrong? You know, it actually seems to be working out great, but what if I only think it's great and actually something's going on behind the scenes that I don't know about? What if the disaster is just around the corner? It's like we inherently have fear and worry in us. So decisions are a great place to land all that fear and worry and keep us stuck. So here is an alternative. It's called the no-lose model. So this works from a principle that we assume that whatever decision we take, there is nothing but good stuff waiting for us. Whatever you choose, you will dig deep and make it work. You'll make it right. It might be because of what you learn along the way. It might be because you will grow as a person. It might be because you will be more in stretch zone and realize how resilient and capable you are. The key is to see that you will get good stuff, whatever the outcome. So for example, you know, I don't know whether to leave my job or not. Well, if I stay in my job, I might not be able to cope. I might get fired and have nothing at all. I might hate it forevermore. You know, if I leave my job, I might regret leaving. You know, I might wish that I'd stayed where I was. That company, better the devil you know, and that company might turn out to be terrible. You know, there's all the things we worry about. But what if instead you reframe it as, well, if I stay, at least I'm in a space I know the people in the company and I enjoy the people here. I can work on creating progression opportunities for myself where I am. If I leave, even if it doesn't work out, there will be other opportunities. I can still keep in touch with the people I know. I'll have something else on my CV. It's like a discipline to look for, to literally list out the things that will go right if I decide on this course and if I decide on this course. So rather than worrying about all the things that could go wrong, I make it my business to write a list of, here is option A, here is option B. I'm only going to write out all the things that can go right if I take this decision. Now, going through that process might very well help you make the decision, but it will also make the decision feel smaller and less terrifying. It will help you take the leap and stop procrastinating. The key thing here is, right, in life, it's what we focus on, not what we want, that we get. So if I focus on everything that's shit and annoying about my life, I'm going to get more of that. That's what I see, that's what I attract, that's the energy I put out, so that's the energy I get back. If I focus on the good stuff that's available to me in any of these routes, I will get more of that, because that's where I'm looking. It's like if I talk to you, if I ask you to spot blue cars, you will see hundreds and hundreds of blue cars over the next 2 hours if you go out looking for it. It will be like there's only blue cars in the world, because our brains are trained to focus in on what we focus on. So the other stuff becomes noise in the background. It's a discipline to focus on the good stuff, and it's great for decision making. And we can talk more about that, Tanya, if you want to have a follow-up session. So I've done that quickly because of time. We've got 4 minutes left. I want to make sure I finish on time for you. So I'm just going to recap on what we've worked through. We've talked about the fact that you can handle it. You are in control of what you choose, what you do, and of your fear. If stuff feels uncomfortable, good. It means you're growing and changing. You're in stretch zone. You're the naked lobster, getting bigger. You've taken off your shell. Fear is a subjective experience. Be careful how you use your words. Be honest with your words. Don't victimize yourself. Don't give away your power. You are choosing what you are not doing. It's not because you can't. It's because you're scared, or because you don't want to, or because you aren't courageous enough yet to take that step. Use your words honestly. Remember secondary gain. And if you need a bit of help with that, I can do follow-up sessions. I'm going to post a link in a moment. Sometimes there is a really specific thing holding you back that's a deep-seated ego need, and we can bring you into alignment with that so that you can move forward. We did the coaching session. I hope you have come away with a plan, and we talked about de-risking decision-making using the no-lose model. So I hope that's been useful for you. There's just the 3 of you left, but I will just say, if you want more of this or need some support working through it, I'm offering everyone that came on the call today a breakthrough call to go deeper on these topics. It's like a free hour and a half coaching session to really hone in on what you're struggling with. And I'm going to post a link in the chat if I can work out how to do that, which will show my availability. I'm only going to be making those available on Mondays and Fridays for the next few weeks. I think I may need to stop sharing my screen to post that in the chat, which I'll do in a moment. I do run a sizable program called the Butterfly Program. This is for people that are ready for a lifestyle transformation. If you just feel stuck and unhappy where you are at, the Butterfly Program is about 12 to 16 weeks of being in a cocoon, being supported to dig deep on the stuff we've touched on today and get through into something bigger and better. So I'm happy to share info on that with any of you that want. So questions, if anyone's got any, and I'm going to just stop sharing and post the link into the chat. You can click it right away and it will take you to my availability over the coming weeks if you would like to follow up, get a bit more support and go a bit deeper on some of the things we've talked about. So hope that session's been useful. It's lovely to see you all. Obviously I know you all, which is brilliant. And thank you for coming. I hope it's been a valuable use of your time. Okay? Everyone okay?
Thanks, Vicky. It's really helpful session.
Good. I'm really glad, Tanya. Take care, everyone. And
Thanks.
I'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.